Hello, so after filming a video on Hangul and all the letters and how they're pronounced and everything, I thought it would be helpful to do a sort of extra video on reading practice. And this entire video will be comprised of loan words. So these loan words are words that are Korean words, but they're borrowed from English. So they're originally English words that they use them in Korean, so the pronunciation is Koreanized. So I think it will be helpful if you read the word and then try to figure out what is the English equivalent. And I think this is helpful because it helps you see the rules of pronunciation, because Korean is so different from English in terms of the sounds that they have and the way that those sounds can be put together. For example, in English, consonant clusters are really common, but that is a little more difficult in Korean. They do have some consonant clusters, but not the entire array of consonant clusters that we have in English. And we also have some vowel sounds that they don't have in Korean, and some consonant sounds as well that they don't have. And so when you see these loan words, you'll get a sense of what is allowed in terms of Korean pronunciation, and also how they change out certain sounds. So if a sound is in an English word and it doesn't exist in Korean, you get a sense of what they would say instead, how they change out these sounds. So something to note is that after 5 seconds, the English equivalent will appear on screen. So pause the video if you need more time reading the word. It's not a lot of time, I know, but I don't want to keep this video too long, so you should pause the video if you need more time. Basically, what will happen is you will see the Korean word, and it is only in Hangul. There is no romanization. Read the word and think to yourself what could be the English word. So let's get started. The first one, okay, this one is cup, and in Korean it's pronounced pretty much the same. Cup, 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 cup. In English it's cup. Next one, okay, this one is computer. In Korean it is pronounced a little differently. Computer, computer. Something to note in Korean is that their aspirated consonants are a lot stronger than English. So even though we also use a K sound, a P sound, and a T sound, computer, we don't do a puff of air as strongly as Koreans do. So when you pronounce computer in Korean, you want to really get that puff of air out of after each the K, the P, and the T sound. Computer. And also note that the R sound at the end, computer, although I know not every person who speaks English pronounces the R like this, just the way that I speak English, the variety of English that I speak, we pronounce the R like computer. And this sound is so different from Korean's R sound. Korean has a kind of R sound, and it is real, but it doesn't sound anything like So it sounds much closer to the English variety to completely omit any type of R sound than it is to use real. And also note that this computer, it sounds closer to like some varieties of English where they don't say the R at the end. Next one. Okay, this one is menu, and in Korean it is also pronounced pretty similarly, menu, menu, menu. In cases like these where the pronunciation is really similar, the main difference is the sound of the syllables themselves, because in English we speak with we stress syllables. So for example, menu, menu, menu. The two syllables don't have the same stress. They're not equal. But in Korean, they they do not stress syllables. So it should be menu, menu. They should both have the same emphasis and the same like speed, which I don't express extremely well because I'm not a native speaker, and I'm used to, my native language is a stressed language. It is English. So it is harder for me to pronounce things in this sort of unstressed manner, like menu. I really want to stress a certain part of the word, but you can over time practice and get a little better at that. Next. Okay, this one is juice. 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 That's the Korean pronunciation. And this one, yeah, it's a little harder. But the reason why it's pronounced like this, juice, is because whenever shiot is the final consonant in a word, it is actually pronounced like digut. So if you had this at the end, it would just be ju, ju, because whenever they have it as the end of as a final consonant, like how we say juice, if they try to do it at the end, it sounds like digut. It is impossible to have the S sound as a final consonant in Korean. That is why they need a vowel after, and the vowel that they prefer to use is because it is the least perceptible, I guess. Like juice, you can almost not say it to the sound, to the point where it sounds almost like you're saying juice, but juice. Next. This one is wine, and in Korean it is pronounced like wa-in, wa-in, wa-in. The note here is that in English we have wine. It is one syllable, but that is because we have a diphthong. The diphthong is I, and this diphthong does not exist in Korean. So they have to say it in two separate sounds. So the diphthong in English is a plus I. So I, and if you say it really fast, you get I. They essentially deconstructed that, and they pronounce it in two different sounds. So a, I, wa, in, wine, wine. And it sounds pretty similar, just a little slower, I guess, because they're not pronouncing the diphthong. They're pronouncing it as two different vowels. Okay, next one. Yes, this is pizza. This is one of the harder ones to figure out because the sound is really different. In Korean, it is pronounced pizza, pizza, pizza. And the reason why is because the Z sound does not exist in Korean. The closest sound they have is the J sound. So whenever there is any Z sound, they will pronounce it as a J. Pizza. Next. This is cheese. Similar to pizza, you'll notice I put it after for a reason. It also has the Z sound, but they don't because it's cheese, that's a Z sound at the end. They don't have that sound. So they use the J sound. Cheese, cheese. And similarly to juice, where they put the at the end, if the J sound is at the bottom of a consonant, you can't make that sound. It can't be a final consonant. It's impossible. It has to have a vowel after it, because if J is a final consonant, it is pronounced like digut. So it's pronounced like a D sound. So if you try to say this without the vowel, it would be pronounced like chit, chit, chit. So they need a vowel after that, and they choose the because it is the least noticeable vowel, I suppose. Cheese. Compared to all the other vowels they have, it's the least noticeable. So let's move on. Okay, this one is page, page. And in Korean it's pronounced peiji, peiji. Similar to I, this word page, it's one syllable in Korean, in English, and it has a diphthong. The diphthong is A. So it's a combination of E plus I, makes A. And they don't have that sound. So they deconstruct it and say it in two separate sounds. That's why you have E and then I. E. So page. And another thing to note is that when the J or the Ch sound, so J or Ch, is at the end of an English word, Koreans say Ji or Chi. They do not say J or Ch. So, as you saw in the previous example with cheese, they used the J sound because they were replacing the Z sound. So whenever they replace Z, they use J, but whenever they're replacing J, they use G. So that's just something to know. I don't really know why. It's just something that they tend to do. Next. Okay, this one is orange. 오렌지. And this is similar to page because this ends with a J sound. They say G, not J. So it's not orange, it's 오렌지. Next. Okay, this one is sandwich. And here is in the first syllable of sandwich, we say sandwich, at least in the type of English that I speak. The A sound has the same sound as in cat. It's like cat, sandwich. But this doesn't exist in Korean. The closest sound that they have is e, so they always say sandwichi. That's how you pronounce this. So sandwich in Korean is sandwichi. And similar to the previous examples, because the last sound in English is the ch sound, they say chi. So it's not sandwich, it's sandwichi. Next. Okay, this one is ice cream. Ice cream. This one is cola, and it is pronounced pretty similar, cola. And it just means Coke or Coca-Cola. They don't say Coke, they always say cola. So cola. Next. Okay, this one is chocolate. And the way it's pronounced in Korean is chocolate. Next. This one is fork. And in Korean it's pronounced pork. Now you may have been confused and thought that this was pork, but it's not. And the reason why is because the F sound does not exist in Korean. The closest sound they have is the P sound. So any F that you hear will be P. Pork. And that is how they say fork in Korean. And the other thing is because the R sound, they don't pronounce the R sound. So in the variety of English that I speak, I say fork and there's like an R sound in there. They don't say that because it just sounds a lot closer to completely omit it. And some varieties of English do omit the R sound anyway. So it is actually pretty accurate depending on which variety of English you're speaking. Next. Okay, this one is interview, and it is pronounced like interview. The V sound also doesn't exist in Korean. And if you know anything about linguistics or just phonetics and the sounds of languages, you will know that F and V are actually the same sound with one minor difference. V is the voiced version of F. So what that just means is that if you say f and then you add some vocals to it, like you move your vocal cords, you will make the V sound. V. And because they do not have F, they do not have V as well. And because P is the B is the voiced version of P, that is why they use B. So P replaces F and B replaces V. So interview. Last one. This is vitamin, and here we have another B. It's pronounced vitamin, vitamin, vitamin. So like I just mentioned, they do not have the V sound, so they use the B sound, and this is just another example of it. And another interesting thing to note is that this particular word is actually borrowed from British English, not American. So that is another important pronunciation thing to know about pronunciation, is that some of the words that they use in Korean are borrowed from American English, and some other words are borrowed from British English, and that affects the way that they pronounce them. So if they had borrowed this word from American English, which in the type of American English that I speak, I say vitamin, they would have probably pronounced this word like vitamin, vitamin, because we say vitamin, but British English says vitamin, and that's why the Korean version is pronounced like vitamin, vitamin. It sounds really close to the British English version. So that's a pretty interesting thing to know. And so basically what you can see from this is that the way that Koreans pronounce loan words also shows you how a Korean would speak English with an accent. So it is very useful for English teachers in Korea to know. And the level of the accent varies depending on the English ability. But, you know, some Koreans, they speak English almost with no accent. And that's because they have learned the English rules of pronunciation. So they needed to learn how to stop pronouncing things in the Korean way and to learn how to pronounce new sounds and learn how to pronounce things with stressed syllables and intonation and everything. And it's similar for an English learner learning, an English speaker learning Korean. We need to cast aside the English pronunciation rules and everything we know from that, and we need to learn to pronounce things in a Korean way. And that's why it's helpful to compare these loan words and see, okay, so this is how I would naturally want to say it. As a native English speaker, I naturally want to say computer. But as a person speaking Korean, I need to say computer. Don't say computer to Koreans. If you really want to sound more Korean, you need to learn how to say things in this way. Even though you know, oh, it's an English word, I should just say computer. No, say computer, and that will immediately make you sound more Korean and just improve your pronunciation. So anyway, back to the English teacher thing though. It's useful for English teachers to know, because this will show you how your students will pronounce words. For example, something that I'm teaching my students lately is my favorite subject is science. That's just what this chapter is on. It's about favorite subjects. And in English, we would say my favorite subject is science. But the way that most of my students pronounce this is my favorite subject is science. And I'm not making fun or anything. I'm just showing you that this is how you can get used to Korean pronunciation, because these are the rules of Korean pronunciation here. You can take any English sentence and say it essentially like how a Korean person would, and that would really help you. That would really help teach you the rules of Korean pronunciation. Anyway, that's it for now. Good luck with your studies. You can check out the full playlist. This will be the last video that I do in this Hangul series. I'm pretty sure I won't do any more. So this playlist is done. Good luck with your studies, and